The fog comes first. It always does in places like this, rolling across dead Pennsylvania cornfields like something with intention, thinning the last of the October light to a bruised, reluctant gray. The Volvo's headlights dissolve into it uselessly. The GPS died 40 minutes ago. The road signs, when they appear at all, are weathered to near illegibility, letters eaten by rust and seasons. Inside the car, the family of three sits in the particular silence of people who have run out of things to say about being lost. Maya drives. Daniel holds a paper map with the quiet shame of a man who resisted it too long. In the back seat, Rosie draws in her sketchbook, headphones around her neck, entirely self-contained in the way that 8-year-olds sometimes are, as though the adult world and all its anxieties are a television program playing in another room. It is Rosie who sees the figure first. She points without urgency, the way you'd point at a deer or an interesting cloud. Between two rows of dead corn, perhaps 30 feet from the road, something stands in the fading light. A figure, human in shape, impossible in stillness, no sway, no adjustment, no acknowledgement of the cold or the wind moving through the stalks around it. Just standing, facing the road, watching the car pass with whatever serves it for eyes. Daniel says it's probably a farmer. Maya says nothing. In the back seat, Rosie turns a page in her sketchbook and keeps drawing. Later, much later, when it no longer matters, Maya will remember to look at what Rosie had drawn before she pointed. The sketch she'd been working on for the previous 20 miles of empty road. A figure, stick-thin, standing in tall grass, rendered in the earnest and slightly wobbly lines of a child's hand. She'd drawn it before she saw it. The village of Harrow's Bluff materializes from the fog without warning, the way certain things do when they've been waiting for you specifically. A cluster of stone buildings around a village green. A church with a cracked steeple that leans a few degrees off true, as though listening for something underground. 2 streetlights, one of them guttering. A hand-painted sign at the road's edge reads Harrow's Bluff, EST 1743, please drive carefully. Someone has crossed out the last word in different colored paint and written, in letters larger and more deliberate than the rest, away. Nobody in the car comments on this. The pub is called the Wren and Sickle, which is precisely the kind of name that makes Americans uneasy and the English inexplicably nostalgic. It is low-ceilinged, beam-hung, and too warm. The fire burning with the aggressive enthusiasm of something that feeds on more than wood. When the family pushes through the door, the 6 locals at the bar stop talking with a synchronicity that feels rehearsed. They resume a moment later. They do not look at the newcomers again. Not once. In the entire hour they sit there. Not a glance, not an accident of eye contact, not even the absent-minded drift of attention that strangers usually provoke. It is, Maya thinks, the most frightening thing that has happened so far. The effort of not looking. The barman, a large man with a white beard and a scar that pulls his left eye permanently downward, tells them the kitchen is closed, but there is bread and soup, and that, yes, there is a room available in the village, Mrs. Aldwick's B&B on Croft Lane. He says the name with a precise, surgical neutrality, the way someone speaks when they have decided exactly how much to tell you and have quietly closed the door on everything else. Under the table, while her parents talk, Rosie fills another page. This time, neither parent leans over to look. Some threshold has been crossed, some instinct quietly, inexplicably activated, that makes looking feel like a bad idea. Mrs. Aldwick is 70-something, silver-haired, and possessed of the preternatural calm of a woman who ceased being surprised by the world sometime in the previous decade and has since arrived at a place beyond surprise. Not peace exactly, but a kind of resolved acceptance, the way people look in the aftermath of something they cannot speak about, but have finally made their terms with. She leads them upstairs through a narrow hall lined entirely with framed photographs. Black and white mostly. Families in Sunday clothes, stiff-backed and formal in the manner of old photographs, standing before farmhouses and church doors and fields. Every photograph, every single one, without exception, contains one person standing apart from the group, at the edge of the frame, half in shadow, never looking at the camera, always, somehow, looking at something just beyond the edge of the image, at something that exists outside the border of what can be seen. The room she gives them is clean, cold, and plain. Before she leaves, she pauses at the door and mentions, pleasantly, conversationally, as though it is a minor logistical detail on the order of breakfast times, that the room at the end of the hall should not be opened. Structural issue. Unsafe flooring. She keeps meaning to have it repaired. The warmth in her voice does not reach the part of her left eye that doesn't quite align with the rest of her face. It hangs there in the cold air of the corridor long after she is gone. Daniel is asleep within minutes. Maya lies on her back and stares at the ceiling and listens to the quality of the silence, which is not the silence of a sleeping house. It has texture. Wait, the silence of a place holding its breath. She hears the singing at 11:14. A child's voice, small and tuneless, the unconscious murmur of a very young person absorbed in private play, coming from down the hall, from behind the door that should not be opened, beneath which a thin line of amber light glows warm and steady. Maya gets up. She is not brave. Her hands are shaking by the time she reaches the door, and she is aware, with absolute clarity, that this is a terrible idea, that every reasonable instinct she possesses is firing in the same direction and the direction is back. But the voice is a child's voice, and she is a mother, and those two facts together override everything reason can offer. The room beyond the door is a child's bedroom preserved in amber. Iron bed frame, washstand, a wooden box of toys from another century entirely, a porcelain doll with a crack splitting her face from brow to chin, a cloth rabbit gone the gray of old grief. The candle on the washstand is lit, freshly lit, the wax barely beginning to weep. The room is empty. Above the bed, scratched directly into the plaster in letters that are small and careful and clearly the work of a child's hand, are 4 lines. She waits in the hollow place. She has always been waiting. She says you have her face. She says it is your turn now. The candle goes out. No draft. No window. No reason. Simply darkness. Rosie is awake when Maya returns to her room, lying flat, eyes open, staring at the ceiling with the focused expression of a child listening to something on a frequency adults have long since lost access to. She is not scared. This is the worst part. She is not scared at all. She is calm in the way of someone receiving information they have been waiting for, information that confirms rather than surprises. She tells her mother, quietly and factually, that the girl from the cornfield came to the window. 3rd floor. No ledge. No possible means of arrival, and yet she came. She was very pale, Rosie says, and very lonely. She has been alone in the hollow place for a very long time, and she is tired of waiting, and she says that one of them has to stay. She was apologetic about it, Rosie says. She seemed almost kind. She says she chose Maya. They leave at 2:30 in the morning with whatever they can grab in 4 minutes, which is less than they arrived with, because Daniel cannot find his coat, and Maya leaves her laptop, and nobody goes back for anything. The Volvo starts, which feels like mercy, and they are on the road before the fear has fully resolved into conscious thought, operating on instinct alone. The fog is thicker now. It presses against the windscreen like something curious. The headlights are useless. Daniel navigates by the paper map, calling turns, And for a while it seems like it might be that simple, that the village will simply let them go, that whatever lives in Harrow's Bluff will roll back like weather and release them into the ordinary dark of the Pennsylvania countryside. They drive for 45 minutes before Maya recognizes the sign. The word away catches in the headlights. They have been driving in a straight line. Daniel checks the map with hands that no longer pretend to be steady. They should be 15 miles east of the village by now. There is no road on the map that circles back. No junction missed. No fork taken wrong. They try again. An hour. This time, pushing the car harder, watching the compass on the dashboard. Due east, unwavering. The sign comes back. On the third attempt, they don't speak at all. Rosie sleeps in the back seat, finally and deeply, in the way children sleep after crying, exhausted and somehow settled, as though something has been decided. Maya drives. Daniel watches the darkness outside his window. At one point, he reaches out and takes Maya's hand on the gear shift and holds it, and neither of them says anything, because there is nothing to say. The sign comes back again. They park on the village green at 4 in the morning and sit in the cooling car while the engine ticks into silence. The church with the tilted steeple looms against a sky that has not darkened to full black. A low, sick amber glow sits on the horizon in the direction of the cornfields, as though something there is lit from beneath. In the back seat, Rosie stirs, opens her eyes, and looks out the window with an expression of mild, dreamlike recognition. She opens her sketchbook to the last page. Maya turns to look before she can stop herself. The drawing is of the village green, the parked car, the three of them visible through the windows, rendered in Rosie's careful, earnest lines with the accuracy of observation rather than imagination. Behind the car, barely visible in the hatched pencil dark of the sketch's background, a fourth figure stands on the green, right outside Maya's door. Maya looks up from the sketchbook. She looks at the wing mirror.